real fantastic, serious event that I'm very happy to be part of, inducting the Beastie Boys, especially with LL Cool J, who should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he's just a tremendous statement. Before people start running off with Jay-Z and Eminem statements, there was LL Cool J and the Beastie Boys. And coming out of our fraternity of Def Jam, which is the last great record label. It was a very proud moment to be up there. And it's also a very proud moment to let everybody know that hip-hop, at its best, should reflect all the musicality in the room. I sat at a table, my table, I got Smokey Robinson and Carole King at my table. Now, as a fucking songwriter, as somebody in hip hop and rap music, if you can't recognize the stature of those greats, you don't need to be in music. You can't say you're a hip hop anything because hip hop and the DJ starts from the knowledge and the homage to the records and the musicians and the labels and the great radio people like my man Kobe Cole, who helped build some of these places and people and things. So, I mean, recognition is very important if you're in rap music and hip hop, and to recognize the third inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Cleveland was a treat and a joy. Run DMC and Jam Master Jay in 2009, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, who I'm going to check out tonight at the House of Blues. Grandmaster Flash tonight, and this year the Beastie Boys. Can't get no better than that. Well, if anybody really knows anything about rock and roll, you better go to some Black Delta bluesmen before you start calling anything rockin' and rollin'. That's just a marketing term, so know where these terms came from, but it's still about the music, baby. It's about the music, it's about some angst, it's about some rebellion, it's about some ease to thought, some great songs that's nourishment, that when you're hitting the road, although we're in a visual audio age, you're hitting the road, you got on your Sirius XM or your radio station, and it's supposed to be basically nutrition for your day. It's just not about food intake and ingestion from your mouth in. Sometimes it got to go through your ears to your brain. So hip hop and rap music is sort of like the manifestation. It's all coming together because it starts from DJs, and the best DJs know what the hell they're playing and where what comes from. Just like because you have 10,000 songs on your iPod doesn't mean that you're an automatic DJ. You gotta know those songs. And you gotta know that even the beginning of hip hop was able to take somebody like a Led Zeppelin and mesh it with a James Brown. My Ahmet Ertegun is out there, and it's Rick Rubin. I introduced Rick over to Bette Midler. Wasn't that something? So I said, I was amazed because I'm a collector of things. So Bette Midler did a fantastic narration on the story of Ahmet Ertegun, the house that Ahmet built. When I told Bette, I said, it's a pleasure meeting you because this is my Ahmet right here. So when his story comes out, hopefully I can do a voiceover that's just as good as yours. So she was touched. And also Carole King was touched because her daughter was like, wow, Chuck D. But I'm like saying, you understand? Your mother and Smokey Robinson, feet apart. Now as a songwriter, trust me, I was in heaven. So I tweeted my ass off. It's real life. And definitely affects the group. It's kind of like it's bittersweet because this is the third hip hop induction, and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 were kind of like split up for years, so they really couldn't and didn't perform. And then Run DMC, Jam Master Jay being killed in 2002, Run DMC split up. And here, the third time, the Beastie Boys would have performed, but they couldn't because MCA is sick. So, I mean, it makes you think, right? So, we take this very seriously. This was a benchmark in the music to show people that, look, man, this is not a joke. This is not a passing fad. This is not kids' music. And no offense, Cole, but I just think one of the biggest cancers to black music has been black radio, or I should say urban radio, because it doesn't reflect all of the people when it comes down to hip hop and rap music. I saw, LL Cool J, I told him how much of it was a crime that on his Exit 13 record, he had such great songs like, you know, Rockin' with the Goat, that there was not a place to play his records because he wasn't, you know, 15 and you didn't have a whole bunch of kids between 12 and 21 blasting the radio stations for requests. So it just makes it fake and corny. Whereas we're looking at Guns N' Roses, which hell, we're still looking at the small faces who are doing gigs. So the treatment of black music and hip hop by urban centers, by BET, has been a travesty to the music because within the music is a history. And when you knock the history away from the people, then they're ignorant and they just become consumers for product over and over again. And that has been blasphemous, it's been disrespectful, and it's been racist, even when it's black people doing it. So that's just what it is. So when somebody comes along and says, you know what, yo Chuck, is hip hop rock and roll? That question just shows that they don't know enough damn history. Because if you can't connect Robert Johnson to Slash, who's black by the way anyway in this country, if you can't connect Robert Johnson to Duff, then you don't know what you're talking about. You don't need to be here. Just go to the Cavaliers game and talk dumb shit about sports in the bar and see if you don't get your ass kicked in the bar because you don't know enough about sports. But how many people don't know shit about music? Y'all are journalists, you get it every day. Oh yeah, what's his name? And here you're like, wow, they don't know the artist, they don't know the song, they don't know the label. What the fuck am I in? Am I talking too much for you? We're cheap. We replaced Fishbone on the License of Ill tour in April 1st to April 15th, 1987. And we were on the Def Jam label, and of course it behooved that the management would actually turn around and say, wow, what do we have here to replace Fishbone, which was also a CBS, doesn't that sound funny, a CBS recording label group. And we played the 15 dates, and they said, well look, for this amount of money, $1,000 a night, what can you do? Well, we can't get no bus, so, you know, I got a van, my girlfriend rented me a van, and I actually drove the 15 cities, and we got 2 rooms and slept with people's feet in our faces and all. But we played the 15 dates on the License to Ill tour, and it was a great teaching for us as professionals just to see how it operated before we got on the next tour, which was with LL Cool J, the Def Jam tour. Because how many artists you got in Cleveland? How many artists you got in Columbus? How many artists you got in Cincinnati? Youngstown? How many artists that you got in Dayton? Dayton is the birthplace of funk. So yeah, you used to always hear stories like how a Dayton artist couldn't get played in Dayton or Cincinnati, but they had to sign to a New York company and get heard at home. It's just old and it's played out, it's tired, and it has destroyed rap music and hip hop from a grassroots approach. The internet is helpful, it's supplementary, but you still need something to pop it off home, especially when it comes down to free air. And free air is when you turn it on and it pops on without any kind of subscription, it's just in the air. So the airwaves are very important. Television is very important. BET, the Booty and Thug Network, thinks that it got a lock on the culture. That has been totally derogatory. So these young artists, they can't breathe. They can't do anything for the community because there's nothing to lend their hand to help them. And that's my point of view. But here I am, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because of artists that have figured out a long time ago how to maybe get around it and how to push forward. But the game becomes more tricky as we go along. But then again, I am a freedom fighter for artists to always be able to have their voice heard, especially if they're like the best in their city. Come on, it's simple math. Peace.